Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. An investigation instituted by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists has revealed how Uber took advantage of local drivers and then dropped them for profits. The Uber Files investigation also details the company's intentional action of disrupting the domestic transport system. For more on this, we are joined by Dr. Mathetha Mokonyama, who leads transport systems and operations at the CSIR. Very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. Dodgy tactics the company used to disrupt transportation and increase its market penetration around the world has not left South Africa out. South Africa has also fallen victim to this. Talk to us about some of these shocking outcomes that we've been reading about.
Good evening, Mpo. Yes, I think this should be seen in the context of Uber as a business. It is really struggling globally to turn around to make profit. It hasn't really made profit, in recent past, except for the 1 year where they had to sell certain assets. So they need to make much more revenue, and what you see is them increasing the number of drivers, so that per hour they can increase the number of passengers, and so these tactics are really about that. How can we recover, costs? And part of these tactics that you see are really about survival as a business. But inherently, Uber as a business, if you look at the numbers, is really not very sustainable. And the numbers show that it's inherently a loss-making business. And you see these behaviors, trying to create a survival for the business.
Uber went from 20% commission to a 25% cut of every ride. Of course, that leaves South Africans who put some of their pension funds into this business and hoping to have a long-term income in a lot of jeopardy here. Some have even had to lose so much more, like their homes and things like that, because of this manner in which the strategy was deceiving to some who decided to get involved in the business.
Yes. Well, that's what the reports indicate. So when the business of Uber started in South Africa, it was highly subsidized as a business. As a result, they could, entice, drivers, additional drivers. They could even entice, passengers. They gave a lot of specials, to passengers. But that was highly subsidized. Again, Uber is pumping a lot of money into this operation, hoping at some stage that they will turn around. But then over time, you have to account your shareholders. You have to recover those costs. And in the context of currency fluctuations, you've got to create, some turnaround. So part of the strategy is to reduce on those subsidies and then increase the fees that they would charge to their drivers. So it's really a survival tactic.
So Uber drivers are referred to as partners, but that's not the case.
Yes, I think the word partner is being used very loosely, because if you are a partner, you want to really get to some kind of a consensus. I mean, things like buying of vehicles. You can assist drivers to buy in bulk. For example, insurance, buy in bulk. There are a number of things that you could assist the partners to buy in bulk. But also when you make decisions, you want to make sure that it's reflective of a consensus. But what the drivers are actually saying is that Uber is making unilateral decisions and is compromising their welfare. But again, it is really about Uber wanting to survive as a business.
So where does it leave the drivers or so-called partners? Because there's this willful disregard for some cases, local laws, government officials, and also for the well-being of their own drivers. How many frightening stories have we heard about the safety of drivers?
Well, the drivers themselves would have to be united, speak with a united voice, create, some kind of an association, legitimate association that can speak on behalf of the drivers. But then also Uber needs to also change, I think, its business approach to more of partnerships in the literal sense. We can partner with the drivers, but also partner with the broader, transport industry. There's a lot that we can use the technology for in the transport industry. Uber, for example, pumps a lot of money. The amount of research funding that goes into Uber is equivalent to how much South Africa as a whole, pumps into research and development, both public and private sector. So they're pumping a lot of research and development, funding. So we can tap into that to improve the transport system. But they need to look at it from a partnership perspective and not just from, money-making, perspective.
Yeah. Also, as we try and perhaps assess the impact of some of these decisions, speaking to safety and also speaking to the violent backlash from the taxi industry, that in itself is a massive challenge still. If anyone is in an Uber where there is a high presence of taxis and minibus taxis in townships, that that one's life is at risk.
Yes. The ecosystem relating to safety and security needs to be improved. It cannot be that we condone this violence. It cannot be that when you have a dispute, you need to kill someone for you to be heard. That needs to be condemned. It cannot be that we allow such behavior to take place. It has to stop. So that speaks to essentially law enforcement generally. The same safety security situation in ecosystem is affecting passengers generally. While waiting for a bus, while waiting for a taxi. From the reports, from the numbers that the surveys that we carry out, it shows that passengers are very vulnerable. So the safety security situation needs to be addressed for transport as a whole, including for the drivers, Uber drivers and all other public transport drivers.
Very well. Let's leave it there for now, and thank you for your time, Dr. Mathetha Mokonyama, who leads transport systems and operations at the CSIR. Let's